Hi, my name is Yvette D. Best. I am an enrolled agent and four-time best-selling author of books about taxes. Today, I'm going to share 7 secrets the IRS doesn't want you to know. If you or someone you know, your relatives, friends, partners, employees, or subcontractors are currently facing IRS difficulties, you can find out how to get back on track with these insider tips to tax relief. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to get a leg up on back taxes and delinquent tax returns so you can avoid severe IRS penalties and interest, as well as financial ruin by having liens and levies on your property or bank accounts, as well as ultimately getting a fresh start. With IRS enforcement now being at an all-time high, and the fact that President Biden has given the IRS $88 million to help with IRS enforcement, this is the time you want to get right with the IRS. If you find yourself owing back taxes, penalties, and interest, here are the 7 little secrets the IRS hopes you will never see. Tax relief secret number 1, don't pay IRS penalties. The IRS has over 148 different types of penalties they can hit you up with. And the worst part is that the IRS can also charge interest and additional penalties on the original amount that you owe. Penalties can be such a high percentage of the total amount owed to the IRS. It usually makes sense to consider requesting the IRS to reduce all penalties to 0. IRS penalties can often be reduced to 0 if you have reasonable cause. What makes up reasonable cause, you ask? Well, in our experience in negotiations with the IRS, anything may qualify as long as it's reasonable. We have had the IRS abate penalties for medical reasons, bad accountants, ignorance of the tax law, ex-spouses, helping to provide care to a loved one, especially during COVID, military call-ups, fires, floods, alcoholism, drug abuse, death, and even relying on IRS advice. You will be pleasantly surprised that you have nothing to lose and the savings can be huge. Tax relief secret number 2, file all legally required tax returns on time. Many people don't realize that the IRS charges a penalty up to 25% just for filing your tax returns late. That's right, you get hit with an additional 25% of what you owe when you miss the deadline for filing individual tax returns. It's even worse for payroll tax returns. What most people don't know is that you can file any tax return on time and avoid the 25% penalty even if you do not send the money to the IRS. We see many people who could have saved thousands of dollars in penalties and interest if they knew this one thing. So in the future, no matter what is going on with your life, file all tax returns on time, even if you do not send in the money owed with the tax return. Yes, of course, you're going to get a nasty letter from the IRS for not sending in the money owed, but what you will avoid is that 25% penalty. Tax relief secret number 3, you don't have to live in fear of the IRS. Knowing your taxpayer rights give you leverage when resolving your IRS problems. Knowing your rights as a taxpayer or having a qualified enrolled agent on your side is the best way to understand the options available to you for permanently solving your IRS troubles. We know that tax problems can cause an immense amount of fear and anxiety. We take that fear away by knowing the IRS inside and out. Our mission and passion is to provide tax help to those who feel helpless against the IRS. We do not like tax bullies. Our role is to negotiate the lowest amount possible allowed by law. Our average client has 4 to 11 years of unfiled tax returns, and we have saved thousands of people from financial crisis and helped them turn their lives around so they can sleep at night and plan for the home and retirement for themselves and a future for their kids. If you have IRS problems, you owe it to yourself to get help right away. Tax relief secret number 4, you don't have to talk to the IRS auditor. As a matter of fact, going or talking to the auditor yourself is the worst thing you can do. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights allows you to be represented by a qualified practitioner who can provide and answer questions for you and provide documentation to the IRS. Many taxpayers attempt to handle their own audit or hire the person who has prepared their tax return to handle it for them. The reason this usually does not work out for you is because most tax return preparers do not know how to handle IRS audits on a daily basis. The IRS can easily intimidate a preparer who usually does not practice in front of the IRS. Tax relief secret number 5. You can beat the odds when facing an IRS audit. When it comes to tax audits, the IRS wins 80% of the time when you are not represented by a qualified practitioner. Taxpayers are deemed guilty until proven innocent, which means the IRS can start an audit by disallowing every deduction you made on a tax return until each one is proven to be legitimate. If a taxing authority has decided to audit you, it's important that you don't let yourself get pushed around by the IRS. Again, we don't like tax bullies. Additionally, if you don't file your taxes, the IRS may file them for you on your behalf. The bad thing is, when the IRS files a return on your behalf, it is in theirs, not your best interest. Having representation for audits vastly improves your chances for a successful tax resolution. As the proverb states, he who is his own lawyer has a fool for a client. Treat an IRS audit as seriously as you would a murder trial. Would you go to court without a lawyer? Then why would you go before the IRS without competent representation? Tax relief secret number 6. IRS audits can be resolved swiftly. The best way to end an IRS audit with a great outcome is to end it at the first meeting. Whenever our firm represents clients in IRS audits, we actually perform a trial audit in our office before we ever meet with the IRS. This allows us to know which areas may require more documentation or answers. When we meet with the IRS without our client, we can quickly answer questions the auditor has asked, provide documentation, and get to the bottom line. We always meet with the IRS at their office or at ours, but never with the client. And if you receive an IRS audit letter in the mail asking you to come in for an appointment, keep in mind you do not have to talk to the IRS auditor. Get representation. Tax relief secret number 7. The IRS cuts deals. The IRS does make deals on taxes owed, including penalties and sometimes interest. The requirements are rigid, but if you qualify for the results, it is incredible. To qualify for a deal with the IRS, you should have a balance due and then have very little in ways of equity or assets. Also, you must be using your monthly income to pay your necessary living expenses and not have much or very little left over to pay old taxes. If you meet these requirements, you owe it to yourself to explore the possibilities of getting a reduction up to 85%, including penalties and sometimes interest on the original amount owed. The IRS cuts these deals to get you back into the system as a current taxpayer and to collect a few bucks on old taxes. The fine print in these deals require you to file your tax returns and pay on time for the next 5 years. If you don't, then the IRS can revoke your deal and bill you for the original amount owed. What have you got to lose? The IRS problems do not go away on their own. Begin the process today of solving your IRS or state tax problems once and for all. You owe it to yourself and your loved ones. Your sleep should be full of rest, not worry. Get a free tax relief consultation and let us permanently solve your tax problems. You can call us at 770-461-4829 or visit our website at www.taxtroublesgone.com for a free consultation to discuss your options in confidence. The minute you retain Best Tax Solutions, we will take over all communication with the IRS so you no longer have to speak to them. We file all delinquent tax returns to bring you into full IRS compliance and vigorously defend your rights as a taxpayer to permanently resolve your IRS tax problems. You have nothing to lose except those sleepless nights.